Hello and welcome everyone to Salesforce Women in Tech Group Kolkata. We are back with part 2 of Salesforce Lightning Flows workshop. A very quick introduction about me. My name is Khyati Mehta. I'm the leader of this group. I'm a proud Salesforce marketing champion. I have led multiple initiatives in India and hence I was featured on Salesforce blog for my outreach work. Professionally, I work as a Salesforce developer at Cognizant Technology Solutions. I love everything about community, hence, I am a community speaker, a trailhead mentor, J2S mentor, and I also have my blog named as All About Salesforce and a podcast that I run in India named Salesforce Off Bits with so we have certain contests that we are running throughout the workshop. We do have a Kahoot quiz at the end of the workshop, and also we have a contest that we are running, which is you can just share whatever you like or dislike about the workshop over LinkedIn and Twitter. Your thoughts, your views, your key takeaways from the session, anything. Make sure that you tag with Kolkata, tag Salesforce admins, tag me Khyatu07, and the speaker for the day Doria Hammerich, and also use hashtags with Kolkata and with flows. The agenda of the workshop is we all know that there is already a lot of material available regarding this topic, which is flows. But what makes this workshop unique is that we will be trying to cover as much as demo possible, as much as use cases possible, and we have also kept 2 days use cases workshop, and this 5-day workshop will include topics about flows with detailed demos wherever applicable. And we have the gurus of flows to cover the exercises and offer their guidance. So today's speaker is Doria Hammerich. She is a Salesforce MVP. We all know her. She's also a WIT Paris group leader. She's working as a solution architect and is a lightning champion. She is also 14x Salesforce certified. Over to you, Doria.
Thank you for the invitation. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay, I will share my screen. All good?
Yes, everything's perfect.
Okay, for this session, just to notify everybody, I have a battery issue on my laptop today. So as you can see, I have like 80% left. Just be sure that after the session, I will also send some slides. So if we cannot go deep into the question, you can also reach me after the session via LinkedIn, Twitter, any channel you want. And today I will try to cover 4 topics. First, the record trigger flow, then the scheduled flow, the auto launch flow, and we'll try to finish with the platform triggered flow. I will start with the record trigger flow because I think it's the most important part you have to master. We all know that it was sorry, it was communicated by Salesforce that the process builder and the workflow will be deprecated in the future. So you have to pass the process builders the quicker possible to flows. It's pretty easy to make the transition, and we will see together how it works. So for this first example, I created here a custom field lost reason. And what I want to achieve is that when I have the lost reason field, it's a simple text field. Of course, you can have pick list. Doesn't matter the kind of field you will use for your example. When it's filled, I want this opportunity automatically go to the close lost stage. Okay. So I will create an opportunity. Here we go. Let's take an account, put an amount, declosed it, a stage. Here it is. So here in the detail, I will fill later the lost reason, but to make the automation, I will first create the flow. So for our first flow, you have plenty of type flows available, and this will be a record trigger flow. Why? Because you have to launch the flow when there is something happening on your record. So you take this one and you can choose between two kind of layouts, the freeform and the auto layout. Basically, it's better to choose um, released feature and not beta feature, especially when you work with a client. You never know if it will be retired in the future or not for the beta. So I will go for the free form this time. And here we go. It's if you are a developer, you will easily understand how it works because it's basically the same way of thinking than you have for the triggers. The first thing to choose is the object. So the object that will be firing the flow. In our case, it's the opportunity. And you have to say when it will be triggered. It can be triggered for the for the creation, the update, the upsert, and the delete. As you can see, we do not have yet the undelete. So if you try to build some flow based on the delete action, be sure that you think about the undelete action too. Here we will go for the update because I imagine that you will not create an opportunity already lost in our case. So we'll take the update and then you can set the entries. These are the condition that the record should met before entering the process. So in our case, we have only one condition. If you have both condition, 2, 3 or more condition, you can use and or operation, and you can also build your own logic between all the conditions you will have. Here we have only one condition, so it doesn't matter if you choose and or. It will not have any impact. And for the field, well, you can see that you have all the fields available for the opportunities. And in our case, I will choose the last reason. And the condition is that the last reason must be filled. So we have the basic operators. I can choose the is null. And because it has not to be null to enter the flow, I will choose the false operator. So you have to read it like the lost reason must not be null. Okay. Like we have in the process builder, you can launch your flow each time it meets the condition or when the conditions passed from false to true. For example, if you have a flow that will be that will send an email to the customer each time the opportunity reach a specific stage, you only want to send this email once. The first time the opportunity will be in this specific stage. If someone goes after that and modify the opportunity, but the stage doesn't change, you don't want to resend the email. This is the difference between both. In the first case, if you choose the first option, the email will be sent each time. In the second condition, this email will be sent only once. The first time the stage is reached. So uh, in our case, we only want to update the close stage when the lost reason is lost. Is filled, sorry. No matter if I go after that and change the lost reason to something else, um, the only thing I want to check is it filled or not. Then we have also the optimization. It's like we have in the trigger when you choose to do a before or an after. You all know that with the before we can only update the fields on the record entering the trigger. With the after, you can also have other impacts on the related record, other actions. This is basically the same. Here, I will go to fast fill updates. And as you can see here, it's a before action. So it will be, let's say it will be applied before the record is committed to the database. If I, for example, if I want to update the contacts related to one account based on some criteria, then I will choose this one because I want to have an impact on other records than the record firing the flow. Do not hesitate to ask some question if something is not clear. Okay, um, I don't know if you can put you on unmute, but Kathy, if you can tell me if there is any question because I don't see the screen anymore.
Sure. We don't have any questions yet.
Okay, all right. So here we are ready with the condition. When the opportunity is updated and the loss reason is filled, then it will do the action I will put in the flow just after that. I want to update the stage, and because we are only acting on the current record, we will use the assignment. So assignment is basically putting any value in one field or variable. This is what we call assignment. It's the equals. So here I will change the stage. Okay, don't forget to put, I will not do it here, but don't forget to put a description on your elements. It's easier for the other developers from your team to be able to see what is the element doing in place of having to go through everything to understand what your flow is performing. And also globally on the flow itself, you have a description. Please put a description. I don't want to have to enter the flow and go through all these elements to understand what it is doing. So I want to change the stage. So I will go to the record. The record is the record entering this flow. I will search for the stage field here, and I will assign a value. You can also add a value if you work with list. So these are a collection of several records. But here I just want to assign the value. And because the stage is a pick list, you can see that here we have all the available values for this pick list. In our case, we want to change it to close lost. Down. You link your elements from start to the next element, and that's it. You don't need to perform an update record because you are in before you are doing something before the record is committed to the database. So basically, the opportunity will enter your flow. It will update on the fly the close stage, and just after that, so it's still a kind of, let's say, temporary record, and it's after that that everything will be committed to the database, so it will be saved with the changes applied in the flow. You save it, you give a name, so let's say change my up to closed last. Okay. Keep it also short for the API name. Say it like this. Closed lost. Reason field. Okay, it's here that I said try to put a description. Not try to put a description anytime you are creating a flow. Save it and then activate it. You can have a quick debug, or you can run it. If you choose for the debug, then you have to choose the opportunity, for example, this one. And when you are choosing the record, it will also, because it's a record trigger flow, you will also have the layout specified for this opportunity. For example, here I have the lost reason. Let's say I lost it because of the competitors. You run it. You can see here highlighted the path. If you have several elements and splits in the logic, you will see the path that the flow will follow. And here you have all the changes that will be applied to my flow. Here, as you can see, um, it changed the stage to close last. So seems to be okay. I will go back in edit. Um, now it's already activated. Let's try it for real, like this. Save, and here you can see the close lost. So basically it's the same logic that you have in your process builder. You will find the same elements pretty easy. If you have process builders on your project, try to make the transition to flows. And another thing to mention in flows is that I try to have the same logic that I will have for the triggers. So for example, if I basically opportunities are large data volume object, and I don't use flows with large data volumes. So if I have another custom object with only I don't know 100 or 1,000 records, I prefer to go with flows than triggers, and I will have only one trigger per operation and per before or after. So for this case, I will have my object, one for the update and one for the before. So custom object dot update dot before. Try to mutualize your flow, not to have I don't know 3 or 4 flows doing the operation, doing the same, not doing the same operation, but trigger with the same condition. The condition here is the update. I created also, as you can see, I created some entry condition. Maybe a good way to do that is to have the condition empty, and then having decision split to choose which action to do. It's a good way to have only one record trigger flow per object per DML. Okay, so that was for the record trigger flow. Now we have also the schedule flow. Here it's started from a DML. Something is changed on the record, or a record is created or deleted. But you can also have schedule flow. It's the same that than creating an Apex batch. The same. It's pretty easy to do. For example, I will have a batch that will close my opportunities once the close date is reached. Let's say that you have an internal process saying to your sales reps, if you have an opportunity and you reach the close date, sorry, but it will be closed automatically. Here you have the scheduled trigger flow. And it's the same than it's the same structure that we have with the Apex batch. In Apex batch, you start with querying your data and then you process it. Well, it's the same here. The difference is that you have already the schedule here. You don't have to manually schedule it in another place in the setup. So for the start date, let's say I want to start it now, and for the start time, here we go. You can choose the frequency, daily or weekly. you can also choose to have it only once. In our example, I will have it each day on midnight, um, and it will process all my opportunities. Now, for the object, the same. I will go for the opportunities, and then for the condition. One one thing about the schedule flow that you want to set up, if you want to have um, condition entry based on a date, today it's not possible to make it dynamic. If you want to have only opportunities with the close date in the past, um, as you can see, I can only put a value. I cannot put anything. It's not possible to have a variable there. It's not possible to use the system date. So it's a big limitation. So if you want to have the condition in related to a date, you have to be sure that the date is fixed, or that you use it, that you make a workaround in your flow. So in no case, it's not possible for me to say that the close date is equal to today. Um, so I will go here for no condition, but you can also have, I don't know, a schedule flow for opportunities having a negotiation, for example, and then you it's possible to put any condition you want. Okay. So let's say I have no condition here, but I have to put it anyway. So I will I will have, for example, a decision split here, to be able to say, is the current date, is the opportunity date in the past or not. So this is my condition. I have the yes for the yes path, and for the check, I will use the record. Each record enter the flow. So you have one interview per flow. You have to know that also, why I say that large data volume is not a good deal with flows, because, for example, for the schedule flows, you have maximum um, 250,000 records that can be processed by day with all your schedule flow, or the second limit, no, sorry, 200,000 um, 200,000 records maximum per day, or if you have many licenses, then you make the multiplication of your number of licenses by 200 to have your limit, but anyway it's limited to 250k at maximum. So here I will have the close date, and then here, as you can see here, I'm able to have a comparison. So the close date must be in the past, so it means that it has to be less than, sorry, less than the current date. And you can see here in the flow interview, here is the current date. So you don't have to create a variable to put it in place. You can simply choose the system variable that are implemented with the flow. All right. So once now we have the decision, we have to say what will happen. Same here. We have the assignment, so we will update the stage. And it's the same for the record. I will go for the stage, and it will be close last. You can also have the last reason automatically filled to say that I don't know, you put something like close date past, something like this. So it will be processed only when the close date is in the past. And for the other past, well, I won't do anything. I will leave it like this. And you can also choose to have a update records. For example, if you have other records to update, then it will also give you the opportunity to do that. Same here, you can use the record variable sorry, you can use the record from which the schedule started. You can use also IDs to be able to retrieve, for example, the contacts from a specific account, this kind of thing. But in our case, the assignment will also update the content of the record entering the schedule. What else? So you have to save it.
Doria, we do have a question.
Mhm.
Can we insert date as a range like next 7 days?
Yes, you can do that. To do that, you will have to create a variable of type formula. Then you use the formula like you would do with the formula field. And once you compare the close date in the entries of your schedule, or in this case, in the decision splits, in place of using the flow date, you will use your formula field. It will be recalculated each time it's used.
Okay, thank you. We do have one more question. Can is null and is field be used interchangeably?
If you want to check if something is filled, then you have to use the is null. There is no differentiation between the is null and is empty in the flows. If that was the question.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. You can carry on.
Okay. Uh, so okay. And then also the difference be, so I will save it. Okay. I forgot I already saved it. For the debug of the flows, you can the batch flows. You can also run it in rollback mode. And here you will see what it will perform in your when it will be running for real. And of course the rollback is there, because if you here it's a simple example, but you can have multiple updates on related records, a bunch of DMS used in your flow. You can use the rollback, and once your debug is done, it will roll back everything, so nothing will be committed to the database. And that's it for this schedule flow. It's pretty easy to put in place, as you can see. The advantage is also that you don't have to declare a scheduling time. Other, for example, if you do an Apex batch, you have to put your batch in place. Then once it's done, you have to schedule it apart from a batch. Here it's not the case. Everything is there, but just be aware that you have to to calculate the number of records maximum that can be processed by day for you not to reach the limit of the scheduling. If you reach the 250k records a day, your batch will fail, and you will receive an email as a system administrator, owner of your flow, informing you that the batch reached the limit. And this is for the batch. Are there any other questions related to that?
We do have certain questions not related to that though.
Okay.
We'll take it at the last.
Okay, good. Maybe other things I want to show you. Okay, an example of the subflows. So recently on a project, I was asked to check why the flow was failing. It was taking many seconds, most of time minutes, to process, and of course, it reached the CPU limit, and the entire operation was failing. I opened the flow, and I noticed that there was like 100 or 150 elements in the flow. And let you imagine for someone not created, not owner of the flow, I never worked on that, how easy it was for me to understand what the flow was doing. It's impossible for someone to go through all these steps, all this logic, and deduce what this flow is doing. So one way of, let's say, make it easier to read is to have subflows. Subflows are, let's say, mini parts of flow that will be included in another flow. You can also have subflows when you have, for example, like we saw, we have to, when an opportunity is closed, you have to change the stage to close lost. Then you have to fill in the reason. Then maybe you also have to notify the opportunity owner or the opportunity account owner that the opportunity was automatically closed, and you can have this process in many cases. In place of doing the same thing on and having imagine that you have I don't know, a chatter notification launch once the opportunity is automatically closed, and you close it. You use this kind of automation in many cases, and then the business say, okay, we want to change the way the sales reps are notified. They don't want anymore to receive it with the chatter notification, but they prefer to receive it by email or with a closed task or anything. Then you have to have a good documentation to be able to know which of your flow is processing this notification. And then you will have to go through all the flows, closing the opportunities in one or another step of your flow, and change the type of notification. Another way to do that is to have one subflow dedicated to the closing of the opportunity. And once you have your subflow, you will be able to use it anywhere you want in the Screenflow, in another kind of flow. Currently, it's not possible to have subflow in record trigger flows, at least not for the before. For the after, I am not sure, but you can have a workaround if you're a developer by calling it with Apex. So basically, this is the right way to split your flow in smaller business processes. This is an example. This is not the best example I could find, but it's just to give you the logic, so you will be able to regroup action in Subflow. Here I have an opportunity that has to be closed, and once it's closed, I also have to change the close date to today. So I close it as 1, and once it's closed as, because it's closed as 1, I also want to have the close date to today. As you can see here, it's the same process. Here you have the subflows, so you drag and drop an element there, and in the it's on. I will show you better this. Okay, here you have all the subflows that you can call. Okay, when you will once you have chosen the subflow to call, you will also have the input values. So where does it come from? Here I have a flow called update close date. We'll open it just for you to see. Update. Where is it? Where is it? Hmm. Here. Okay. So I have my opportunity record. I created a variable of type records. It's not a collection. It's only one record of type opportunity, and I say I can use it for input and output. The difference between input and output, um, input is to be able to retrieve elements or values from somewhere else outside the flow, and the output is to be able to send values from the flow to somewhere else outside the flow. For example, if you have a visual flow, I think in the last session you've seen the screen flows. To be able to put it depends. If you have a flow depending on nothing external, so it's not depending on any record, then you don't need to have the current record related to your flow. But let's say I have a screen flow on my account page. So of course, when I launch the flow, I need to know that when I am in the flow, I'm currently also on the account having this account ID. To be able to pass the account ID or the record ID to my flow, I need to create a variable with the type of input, so that once I have put my screen flow on my Lightning page, I can also say, well, pass the record information to my flow. And on the other side, I can have, for example, a flow that will be used in, let's say, a flow that will be also calling Apex classes or this kind of thing. So it's using its own variable to send this information outside. In this case, you will use the output. Okay, so it's the same for the subflow. If I want to pass, it's not because a subflow is included in a main flow that the main flow is aware of everything running in the subflow. It's completely independent. See it like different blocks of logic executed independently. And to be able to create the link between these logic blocks, you have to use the input and output variables. So in my case, I want to pass the opportunity I'm starting from in my main flow, and that's why I use the input. It's very important that you understand the purpose of the input and the output. That's why I spend a little time to make a clearer explanation on that. So what does it do? Well, it will take the opportunity record because it's a variable of record type. Because it's a variable record type, I also have all the fields related to the opportunity record, the opportunity object. I will take the close date and I will assign it as the current date. And then I will update the record. Pretty simple. I start from a record, I change something in the record, I commit it to the database with an update record. I have the same here for the stage. Okay, so for the stage, I will take the stage and I will pass it to close one. And then I will update the record I was starting from. Now, in my main flow, okay, back to my main flow. Let's say it's a flow that should be visible on the opportunity or with the quick action, with the global action. You can choose from where this Screenflow will be visible. So the first thing I have done is to retrieve the information related to the opportunity. So I have a get element, retrieving opportunity records. Then I have to say that the ID of the opportunity will be equals to record ID. Okay, and I take only the first record, of course, because if you have a condition including the ID, it's not possible to have more than one record. And I automatically store all the fields, so Salesforce will create automatically a variable including all the fields, and all the fields will be available for my logic in the different steps of my flow. So where does it come from here, this record ID? Well, it's basically the same. Here I have a variable, this time of type text, because it's a record ID and not opportunity ID. So it's only the ID string that I will retrieve, and it's available for input. One thing, I don't know if in the previous session about Screenflows you saw it, but if you have a quick action, let's say you have a quick action, and from this quick action you want to launch a Screenflow, the only way to say the flow that you are working on this current record is to declare a variable called record ID. It has to be this variable. And by implementing a variable of type text with this name and the type input, automatically when you are on an opportunity, you click on the button, it launches the flow, the Salesforce will automatically pass the record ID of your flow to the record ID of the opportunity you are working on to the flow. Okay, it's not the same than than having a Screenflow on a Lightning page. For a Lightning page, you have to create a variable of any name. You can choose the name you want. It's not a data type text, but it's a data type record. And once you drag and drop the flow component in your page, you will notice that you have all the input variable you have declared in your flow that will be available in the option of your flow component, and Salesforce automatically give you the opportunity to pass the record to this input. And the third case is with global actions. With global actions, if you want to point a specific record, I don't know in which case you should do that, because a global action, like its name says, it's global, so it should not be related to any record. But let's say you should point a specific record to start from, then you will have to go through Apex. It's not possible to do that with global action. Okay, so recap for the Screenflow. If you want to retrieve information on of the record you are working on, you create a variable, you can choose the name, and the variable must be of type input and of type record. If you want to call a Screenflow from a quick action, the, the variable must be of type input, of type text, and the name must be record ID, like you see on the screen. And if you want to point a specific record for a global action, then you have to go with Apex. And in fact, it's the same. If you want to make it global, to call a flow in the global action is possible. Currently, you have to go through Apex to start the flow. Okay, so that being said, back to my example. In the main flow, I had the record ID available for input because in no case I want to launch it from any record. And then I will retrieve, because I have only the ID, I don't have the record itself. Well, I have to retrieve the record itself. So it will be based on the opportunity, and I will retrieve the record having this variable, so record ID. The ID must be equals to this record. I retrieve the first record, and I will automatically store all the variables. Now I have the two subflow. You can have a subflow changing the information on the record from where you start. You can have email send. You can have custom Apex logic. You will see that in the next session too. Here, the example I am showing has let's say a not wanted behavior, and that's why I wanted to show you what it does. You should say, okay, I get the opportunity, then it will go here in the close date, it will change the close date. Bam, the close date is changed on my opportunity, and then it will enter the second subflow, and it will change the stage to close one. Okay, and at the end, the opportunity will have the close date and the stage changed. It's not the same. It's not the case. It's not. It's not the way. It, Salesforce is handling the subflows. If you have a subflow updating the record, um, no, let's say it like this. If you have two subflows and each subflow is updating a record, the same record, then it will always take all the it will take as basis the values in the field from where it started. So let's say I am here. I am in negotiation. The close date was I don't know, November 1st. Okay, it will go here. I changed the close date, so it's now December 1st. The stage is always is still in negotiation. Okay, then it will go there. You will change the stage from negotiation to close one. You could say that the close date is still December 1st. Well, not, because it will start from here. So from from the opportunity it entered before it entered the flow. So you have to know that when you have Subflow updating the same record, then put all the updates of the record in the same Subflow. Otherwise, one will overwrite the changes from uh, the second will overwrite the changes of the previous one. Okay, and I can show you here the example. Uh, Here I have my record ID. Okay, there is no screen, so of course you cannot see anything. So let's retake all the steps. I gave this value to my record ID. Okay, then I retrieve all the information related to this opportunity. Is each searched for this record ID. Okay, they are found. The record is retrieved, so that's okay. And then it will enter the subflow. Here you have the update close date. You can see that it started with the opportunity record I just retrieved previously in my main flow. Then it assigns the close date to today. So here you see for December, that's okay. And then it will proceed to the update. All the variables are there, and the where is it? Where is it? Searching for the. Let's highlight it. Okay, you see here the close date for the December 4th. That's okay. So now it will go. So that's also the output. Still December. That's the DML. That's okay. Then it enters the second subflows. Here it will change the stage. So once again, it will retrieve the record from the main flow, and then it will change the stage to close one. That's okay. But then, as you can see here, the close date is still the December 16, and it's still December 16 because initially the opportunity was on December 16. So the second flow doesn't know that the opportunity was changed. Imagine that it's like a temporary record used through all the flow, for all the subflows. And if you do not explicitly say that the opportunity was changed in the main flow, then the subflow is not aware of that either. For the stage, it will be okay, but as you can see here, the close date will remain the same. And finally, the second flow overrided the values passed in the first subflow. Okay, is it clear for you? I know that I'm focusing on limits, but it's also I love flow really. I use flow for from the beginning when we were still in the whole school interfaces, but I I prefer to mention some limits because it's also important each feature to be able to make the right choice when you design the solution. And for the rest, you can use Subflow, like I said, to make grouping of your business logic so that you don't have a flow with, like I said, 100 elements, and also to mutualize the same business process between flows. Is there any question on that?
We do have questions. Is there some limit on how many subflows can I use in master flow?
I have no limit in mind for this flow. There are limits in the number of elements you can put in a flow. I think it's 200, but you can have unlimited. But as long as you don't reach this limit of number of elements, you can have as many subflow as you want.
Can we put custom date or monthly in schedule flow?
In schedule flow, depends. In the yes, you can call them, but for the as I said, it's only the filtering for the start that is quite limited currently. I guess they will make some improvement on that because there were many feedbacks from the community, especially because if you have a schedule flow, it's because you have something related to dates. I hope it will be changed.
Can you please demonstrate to get records of X object and assign its value for object Y and create object Y records?
Can you repeat the beginning of the question?
Can you please demonstrate on how to get, I suppose the question is incorrect. Can you please demonstrate to get records of X object and assign its value for object Y and create object Y records?
Object Y, sorry, I didn't get the question.
Yeah, Venkatesh, I would suggest you to please type your question correctly so that we understand. There's one more question. Will the flow work in case of bulk data loading?
For the schedule flow, yes, it's working in bulk, but even if it's working in bulk, as I said, it will count one interview per record, and this is what is taken into consideration in the limits.
What is the effect of FLS in flows, field level security in flows?
It depends on the way you are running the flow. If you are running the flow, uh, wait, supply, yeah. Okay. In flows, we have three options. You can choose to run it in system, so meaning that you bypass it any field level security permission. You're in system. You can also have the same we have in Apex with or without sharing. So basically, if you don't have access to a field and you create you do an update on this field, then you will get an error. If you are of course, if you are not in system, that is for the field level security. Now, related to the visibility, so the sharing, let's say you want to retrieve all accounts from India. If you are with sharing, you will only retrieve the records you have access to. So it will take into consideration the sharing. Of course, if you are in system, you will retrieve everything, and so it will follow the visibility rules. So yes, that's a good question. Also, when you design your screens, um, just think about who will be seeing the screen. Are you sure that everyone seeing the screen has access to all the fields committed, all the records that will be used? And if not, you can always put a decision split in your screen. You can use, for example, custom permissions to determine if this person has access to this part of the flow, yes or not, and create decision split based on that. to show one screen or another screen. I have seen flows um, having in the logic one screen saying you don't have access to this feature, to this process. You can put something like this, at least to notify the user and not having a simple error.
Perfect. We want to have one more question. Can we update any specific field in all the related child objects?
Yes. Yes, you can, if you, let's say you start from account, you want to update all the all the the children, you can do that easily. I have one, I will show you one example of that. So, for example, yes, this it's an example with the platform event, but we will see it just after that with the platform event. It's the same that the record trigger for flows. You don't have limits, but we have governor limits, and the governor limits are also applied to flows. It's the same than triggers. For example, you all know that it's not possible. No, it's not possible, but you should not put a DML in a loop. Well, it's the same for flows. If you're looping in a list of records, and for each record you want to update this record, put them in a collection variable. It's the same than a list in Apex, and then update the collection, the entire collection. Because if you are looping and you reach the 200 records, well, you will have exactly the same error that you will have with the trigger. Any other question before entering the last one, the platform events?
Maybe we'll take the questions at last again.
Okay, all right. Platform events. So maybe just back to the platform events. A quick recap about the platform events. So in a event architecture, it's possible to put in place platform events. Imagine it for those not familiar with the platform events. Imagine it like this: you have a kind of box where you will put information. I'm a publisher, and I put an information in this box, and then I have subscribers, and each time an information that I want to retrieve is there in this box, I will read this information and put it, and I leave it in the box. And and if there are other subscribers, other persons interested in this information, they will also be able to read this information. So as a publisher, I don't care about who will read this information, who will use them. I just care that the information is there. So I publish the information to an event bus. And then we have the subscriber. The subscriber are, let's say, listening to a specific kind of event. And once it's published, they are informed that the event is published, and then they can proceed with the event. It's useful, for example, if you have many systems. You Let's say we start from the account update. Account update. Imagine that Salesforce is the MDM, so he is the master of the data. Generally, it's not the case, but let's say it's the case in our example. Um, I want to inform all my IS in my architecture landscape, I have many different systems. I want them all to retrieve this information. So I can start and create, I can start doing API calls to all the different systems. And for each system will have its own web services. I have to put many logic in place to inform them. Another way to do that is to say, okay, well, here I have my event bus. I will publish all the account updates to this bus. If you're interested in this kind of publication, well, just subscribe to this bus and you'll be aware when account is updated, and then you can go your way and do whatever you want with this information. This is how the platform events are working. And platform events are just like external custom object, external object. They're also objects in the platform. Pretty simple to create. It's like a custom object. So you create an object. I show you the interface. You choose the label, the plural label, the object name, just like you should do with the custom object. And you also choose the publish behavior. For the publish behavior, I would say do that and always publish after the commit and not immediately. I will go back to this point just after the demo of the flows. And then you have your object. The suffix of the platform events are underscore e. You have standard fields. The These two fields are used for the external system to be able to know which event was already treated, and in case of failure, they have also a replay ID for them to be able to replay the same process. And here I have implemented two custom fields. Here is my account. So what I want to achieve is to have um, my context updated with the same information than my account. When I change the billing street for my account, I want it to be also updated on the contacts. So I have two fields: the account ID, of course, to be able to know which account I'm working on, and then the address. As you can see here, I use address and not billing street, because you don't have to follow exactly the same naming in your platform event than in your object. You can choose any convention you want. You are completely free. For the custom fields, they are limited. You cannot put anything in the platform event. Boolean, dates, date types, numbers, and also text. That's it. You cannot have lookups. If you want to put lookups, then you should use the ID or the external ID. All right, now I have my platform event, and I know I want that each time the account is updated, I publish this information to my platform event of type account update, and I will fill these two fields. To do that, I will create a trigger. Yes, if I click the right menu, it will be better. Okay, too late. Okay, I will not go deep in details about how to create a trigger. That's not the purpose of this session, but keep it simple. I will trigger a process on the account, and it will occur once the account finishes is its update. I will have, because I can have one account, but I can also have a list of accounts. I will have a, let's say, a list of all the events that needs to be published. I repeat that my platform events is called account updates. Okay, so I declare here my list. Then I will add the value to my list. So for I will create a platform event with the account ID field with the account ID, the address field with the billing street, and then I add it to my list. So at the end, I will have a global list of all the platform events I have. If I update one account, well, it will be only one account. And if I have, if I perform a batch update of all the accounts, I will have many platform events created at once. And then I have the I will publish it, and of course I have the um, the check of the check just to know if everything is working fine. And of course, yes, as I see it now, this logic should be outside the for, but let's uh, keep it like this. Just if you retake this example, be sure that the commit should be outside the for. All right, now I have a trigger in place, and the trigger is performing well. It creates the platform event. So Salesforce can also be subscriber of platform events. Okay, and this is why I create the trigger to publish it, and on the other side I will have a flow to subscribe to it. So in my flow, it's the same. Once you create a flow, we have seen the record trigger flow. Well, platform event trigger flow are the same, but not based on record changes, but on a platform event publication. So for the setup, it's easy. You only have to choose the right platform event. So as you can see, here is my platform event I created just before. And then I will say what I want to achieve. Well, I will have an update records of all my contacts, which the contact having the account ID equals to the account ID I mentioned. And here, the specified record is the platform event record. So imagine in my let's say in my platform event, I had a field my account ID, then it will be record my account ID. Okay. And so this is to be able to filter the contact I have to update. And then of course I have to say what I want to update, which field. So it's the mailing street, and the mailing street once again comes from the platform event, so the record, and then the address. This is the address field that I see here, and the account ID is what I see there. And that's it, because you can do bulk updates with this kind of elements. Okay, only with the update record, you don't have to go through a loop, read each record, put them in a list, and update your list. No, just take the update record, and it will be enough. It will do its work. That's it. Once it's done, you can activate it. It's all just check if it's activated or not. Nope. Okay, now it's activated. Let's start from one account. We'll update it. So here is the billing address. Okay, here I changed the billing address. Save. Okay, so at this time, well, what happened is that the trigger was fired because there was something happening on the update on the account. Let's go back to the trigger here. Sorry. Okay, it's an after update, so it was fired. And because it was fired, the platform event was created. You cannot see platform events, record or information in the platform, but there are App Exchange apps that you can install. I think it's called streaming monitoring. It's App Exchange free that you can use to track platform events, streaming API, push topics, all this kind of thing, if you want to see them on the screen. Okay, and then the event was published, so that's okay by the trigger, and then it's the flow that was launched because the flow is triggered when the platform event is created. And if you go back to the contacts, here you can see that the mailing address was already also updated. So to answer the previous question, is it possible to update related records behalf the firing record? As you can see, yes, it's possible. Here, the firing record was account, and the updated records were the contacts. Is there any other question?
We do have questions. How to trigger or configure the flow? Like we able to do it in workflow rule created and anytime it's edited to subsequently meet criteria.
Okay. I will go back to this one. If you want to have the stage changed to so the stage changed to any stage when the another field is filled by the user, you will use a simple workflow and you will say that it will only be fired to meet the criteria. Well, it's exactly the same here that you have there. If you want it to be fired each time it meets the condition, then you will have to use the first option. And if you want it to be fired only once, so the first time the condition is met and not the other times, then you will have to choose this one. So it's exactly the same that you have for workflow or process builders. Does it answer your question?
We do have one more question. I need to set up the owner ID of record based on one of the formula field value on same record. Is it possible to update it while creating record in Flow?
Um, a flow, like a trigger, will not fire when the formula is changed. So, for example, if you have, let's say, you have, I don't know, you have amount on opportunity, and then you have a formula saying that this amount is VIP, yes or not. And based on the value of your formula, you need to change the owner. If you change the amount, it's not possible to fire something, some automation based on the formula, because the formula is calculated on the fly. It's not stored in the database. It's only visible when once you do an export, you query your data, you show them on the screen, but they are like virtual data. What you should do in this case, in place of going through a formula, you should go, for example, you can use one of the field part of the condition, and then you recreate all the logic in the flow to be able to assign the right owner. But based on the formula field, no, it will not work.
Okay. Are elements traversed in a flow run counts against element limit in flow?
You have limits in the number of elements in the flow. So each time you put a drag and you make a drag and drop of an element, you have the same limits and with triggers. So it's not possible to update more than it's not possible to perform more than 200 TMLs in the flow. It's not possible to retrieve 1 million records in the flow. You will have exactly the same limits than in triggers. So in flows, the get element is not counted as a DML. It's only when you insert, update, upsert, delete something, then it's counted.
Can we apply any filter on the lookup fields of a screen flow?
Uh, yes, yes and no, I would say. It's possible. What will happen is that you will create a lookup in the screen flow. You will have a lookup. The lookup will be based on a specific lookup field i- from any object you want. Let me try to find an example. Let's say you want to have a lookup of accounts. You can retrieve this lookup from the contact field, from the opportunity field, from the contract, from the contact object, opportunity object, contract object, any object having a lookup pointing to the accounts. And what you will see in the field will be the same that you have. So in the screen field, you will see the same that you have in your object, but related to filtering, it will not be applied. It will not be applied, but let's say you have filtering based on the account type in your object itself. Because it's not applied in the screen flow, you will be able to choose any account you want. But once you will commit it, depending on how you filter the records, in the lookup, when you filter, you can have two kind of filters. You can have only filter only, let's say, filters that apply only on the visibility, the records that are shown. But you can have also hard filters, meaning that if you choose one of the records that are not matching the rules you implemented, it will fail. They will be rejected. So for this second case, if you have rejection filters in your object, you commit it. So you do an update, an insert in your screen flow, it will also be rejected. It will follow the same rules. And of course, it will follow the same rules even if you do that in Apex. So it's the same. If it's not possible, it's not possible to. You will see it on the screen, but you will not be able to commit it with the flow, with the upsert or insert, update, these kind of elements.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we can move on now.
Okay, so I guess I'm done for the demo, and for the rest you will see it a step further with the programmatic elements. So what we saw today was the way of firing a flow when a record was changed. So let me go back to the flows. Okay, so in the previous session, you've seen the Screenflow. In this session, we saw how to fire a flow when a record is changed. This is the record trigger flow. The same for the platform events. So we saw that platform events are basically a record that you can subscribe to and also publish. In our case, we publish it through triggers, and for the subscription, it was through flows. We saw how to create declarative batches with a scheduled trigger flow, and finally, the auto launch flow. So a way of grouping the business logic in a subpart of a flow. And I'm done.
Yes, I think we are pretty much covered with all the questions as well. So, thank you, Doria.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful session.